fact, absolutely. My name is Benny. That is Dan, that is Sal, and that is Hassan. And we get together on a pretty regular basis talking about TV shows, movies, and comic books, all in the world of superheroes and beyond.
At least we used to.
That's what today's video is out. You're going to watch us live trying to figure out, should we be covering content anymore for the general news media? Now, I want to specify before we go into this, and everyone panics. Today's discussion of all the pros and cons of us covering things like Secret Invasion, the Superman show, stuff like that, will not affect coverage of comic books. Comic books are unaffected by everything. So if we choose one of these routes, all it really means is that Dan and Hassan have to read comics if they want to stay on the show.
Mm-hmm. oh no.
Or we could do older movies.
Older movies. So
we can continue the Turtle show, which apparently most of you didn't enjoy. But
it is a 10 out of 10.
People seem to enjoy it actually. But
you're probably wondering, what the heck are you guys talking about? Are you shutting down? Absolutely, absolutely not. See what I did there?
Absolutely not.
Oh my.
So here's what's going on. If you're unaware or you're not really tracking, this channel, we typically go over rumors, discussions, and basically review shows and movies. That is all in line of promoting projects, technically. The writers went on strike back in May, and the general argument, and I think someone pulled it up, Neb, I think, helped out in our group chat, but the general consensus is that these are just, they want rights for stuff. If you don't know what's going on, it used to be writers would create a show. If the show did well, it would go into syndication. They would get a paycheck for life. That would be like their reward for doing it. And the way writing jobs work, you don't know when you're getting your next job. You might be at a show for 10 years. You might be at a show for 6 months, and then you're looking for another show. With digital platforms, they were never considered in syndication. So a lot of times these writers were making a show goes out, company makes residuals because it lives on their platform, but writers do not. On top of that, AI has come out, which is potentially threatening their jobs. Now, if you are all in the board of AI, be aware we all have mixed opinions on AI, but generally, while AI can create incredible products, it's not creative. AI doesn't actually create things. It takes existing properties and shuffles it around and makes what you think is an amazing product. And it can do a good job with that. We've run into problems such as Secret Invasion having AI art in the beginning. We've had scripts written up by AI, which is taking writers' jobs that they've already been kind of losing thanks to the lack of syndication. That's a bare bones, not deep in-depth version of what is going on with the original writer's strike.
yes.
Networks in general have decided that they're going to stick to their guns and not change the terms because networks don't want to pay that extra penny for a show to be on syndication, technically, through a digital platform.
And the penny is an accurate statement. That's not like a joke. It's for them.
Proportionately,
it is less than the biggest studio uptick in payment is 0.2%.
Right.
To pay the writers what they've asked.
They're basically just arguing for some form of residuals if a program's going to live, say, on Netflix for the next 20 years. You know, that's basically what they're asking for, is what it really boils down to. Like I said, there's a lot more nuance to it all, but we're not going into that whole depth.
No.
If you miss the
about
memo,
how does it affect us? That's what we're talking about here.
Right, we're getting to that. That's what we're getting to.
Yeah.
Now, why does it affect us? Writers and stuff or whatever. Now, this only affects you if you're a part of the unionized Writers Guild. You get a SAG card. You may have heard that term thrown around. To get one of those cards requires you to do a whole bunch of work. And then as a union, they come together to ensure you get better pay rates. It's how the whole system works. The Actors Guild is a very similar situation. The Actors Guild stands with the writers, and now that there's words that the networks are going to just push through and ignore the writers, the actors have gone on strike. What does this mean? Anybody who is a part of either union, either one of these unions, actors or writers, is not allowed to talk, promote, write, show up, any project that they have worked on. That means things like the Barbie movie no longer have a press tour. That means that your favorite shows are on stop or hiatus, or they're just not going to come out. Some of these projects are going to get canceled because of the fact that they just will not move forward. How does that affect us? Well, that's the big problem right now. Okay. So there are very much differing opinions as to how this affects non-union carrying projects. What that basically boils down to is influencers, review shows, stuff like that, like articles, blogs. So we make our money on this channel by talking about the rumors and talking about the properties. We are not a part of the card carrying union, meaning standing with the union does nothing for us because if they win, we get none of those perks.
Which we're not asking for, by the way.
Right. We're not
Yeah.
asking. This is not that argument. I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
But the roundabout question is, if we don't talk about things such as Secret Invasion, we're helping their strike. Why would an influencer do that? Why would we care enough to not talk about certain properties and stand with the strike? The answer is simply put, if you ever at any point in the future, like Hassan's 16 years old. So what if
I'm not, but you're exactly right. I will probably at some point join SAG-AFTRA.
That's what I'm saying. So
and the
in 20
WGA.
years,
Like, that's in my plan.
if Hassan wants to, you know what? I had a lot of fun. Now I want to go write projects.
Yeah.
He might want a SAG card. And the very clear stance that SAG is seemingly taking is that if you stand against the strike by promoting a product, they will never give you a card. You will never be eligible for a product.
So here's, because I've actually seen conflicting information, and I don't know if you're going to
That's
go
the
farther
problem.
into that.
No,
Yeah.
you go ahead and take off because that's where I was going next.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing that I've heard was, and this is actually kind of where I'm confused, so I would love for clarification, was it's not that you can't promote, it's that you can't promote if the studio that is being striked is paying you to promote. Because the thing that made it like that was, from what I have seen, that is kind of the big one, is you cannot promote if they are paying you to promote it. But the thing that confused me about that was then there were other things that came out where people were like, no, you need to be watching these things, because if you don't watch it, you're removing a negotiation tactic for the writers and stuff. And it's become honestly, like, it's just become confusing because I don't know whether or not I'm supposed to watch these or not, because I don't know if watching them is going to make the studios go, oh, look, this thing written by actual people got a lot of views and stuff like, okay, they're worth it. We want to give them money. Or are we striking and not watching them so that the studios go, oh, everyone's standing with the writers,
Yeah.
so we need to give them money? Like,
No,
because
there
like
isn't.
that's the thing is Neb tweeted out, and I think he put it in our chat as well, his friend that posted something about it.
Yeah,
Which
the
is
argument is that
typically-
if nobody watches it, then the networks technically have the argument of like, well, it wasn't worth it anyway having people on these projects.
There's a lot of conflicting information, like incredibly so, because you have lots of different influencers, TikTokers, creators, and then SAG-AFTRA members going to their union guild members asking, requesting, like, hey, what are the guidelines on this? And the issue is an influencer is this blanket term being used to like kind of talk to all of us, but it doesn't apply to all of us necessarily. Right. And even if it does, what they're saying about influencers is very vague at best. There are people with very clear, articulate stances on it that are just saying, hey, I'm a promotional tool for the studio and I will not participate in it. And there's other people saying, no, a scab, that's what they call somebody that breaks the picket line that goes in and takes work originally for a union member. If you're offered the gig after the fact, so let's say like, hey, now we need people at our red carpet. Here, Benny, Hassan, Dan, like here's a red carpet ticket. We'll fly you to LA, and we take the job of like people who traditionally would be there, the actors, right? Then we'd be considered scabbing, but that also doesn't make sense because we're not union members in the first place. So like scabbing shouldn't apply.
I think where the problem comes in right now is that the last time that there was a strike, which was like back in like late
60 years ago for actors.
For actors, yes, but the writers did it like late 2000s because that's the notorious time that Heroes and Lost got screwed over.
Right.
There was no influencer. This was not like they were like, if we don't show up, there's no one promoting the projects and we're done.
And comparatively, it's very much apples and oranges, but comparatively, like late night talk shows, which are basically tools by studios to promote their products, continue to air.
Yeah.
You know, but they were creating alternate content. You know, they weren't like soliciting out of work actors or retired actors or actors from, overseas, they were just like, okay, well, we can't promote movies. We're not here to promote movies. Let's just make our own content.
It was Conan spinning a coin every day to see how long it would take him to break his record of spinning a coin. He brings a physicist on. Like, there was nothing else going on in late night television, and that was in solidarity with the writers. So, like, that's writers. Actor strike was even more before that. The concept of the internet and the way that it is now wasn't even an idea in anyone's head at that point.
All right, there was no TikTok, there was no Instagram.
There was
nothing.
Maybe
Instagram was there. When did Instagram
come in?
But anyway.
Instagram came out in 2007.
Okay, so right around then. But like,
I'm crazy. That's 2012 or 2011.
2010.
I was very wrong, actually. Holy crap.
I found the tweet, and it says, so for the current SAG-AFTRA members, they are not allowed to promote anything or perform services for a struck company, aka the studios. For non-members, this is what it says, and this is why I'm a little confused. The only thing prohibited for non-members is performing covered services for a struck company, which means being paid for a job from a studio. The official strike notice sent out to us does not say you can't promote films. In fact, not promoting could end up hurting SAG and WGA members because it could be devaluing our work, which would only help the studios in negotiations. Right. SAG members are asking you guys to continue to promote things because you're our only hope of having our films seen.
Okay, that's crazy because I've heard that exact opposite sentiment, word for word, bar for bar, that it's like, no, actually, that's going to hurt us if you're showing them they can get views without us.
Right. I'm not a lawyer, but I will say it sounds like the distinction is if you are hired by a studio to promote your work or their work, that is scabbing. If you elect to promote it for no benefit but your own, and you have no affiliation with the studio, that is not scabbing. Right. However, it really doesn't matter what the letter of the law is when the court of public opinion is in session.
Yes,
now,
that's the issue.
And that it really depends on what the audience's reaction and feeling is on that topic. I'm just weighing in here. I think the audience couldn't care less by and large. I think 90% of the audience, 98% of the audience is like, I'm not even going to watch this video. I don't care about what's happening with what rich people want other less rich people to do or whatever. I just want to know what happened in the new Superman cartoon I'm not watching. And you know what? Like, that's what they're here for. And I totally get that. On the other hand, I also don't want to jeopardize any of our younger members of the team and their futures as a result of our desire to maintain the status quo. You know, we're already 24 to 48 hours behind on the most cutting edge news anyway. It won't really affect us.
No, and I think what it really boils down to is the question is, at least for the two shows we're covering right now, do we intend on continuing covering Adventures of Superman, and do we intend on continuing covering Secret Invasion? I think by the written logic, as long as we're not getting paid to do it, we're more than able to
paid by the studios.
Right.
I think that's a big factor because if we get paid by YouTube, that's not
different.
Yeah.
That is completely different.
Good clarification.
Yeah, that's making money off of content as opposed to being paid to cover content.
No, it's a very different ball game if we were like a TikTok creator, right? Because they're in a lot more scrutiny and hot water. I would say like our audience, there's definitely a lot of Gen Z in there. I know because I was in there. So there's others of us sprinkled throughout, but tends to skew older, tends to skew younger at times. So like far less interested people in that regard, far less and I say this with the utmost love because they're fighting for the right thing, but very social justice warrior stuff is happening on TikTok with a lot of the creators are in like incredibly hot water. Some of them for their poor taste initial statements, some of them for their rarely well thought out, but at the end of the day, confusing statements too.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
So I could elect to switch on to the nostalgic videos, because what Superman, I'd be sad to miss out on those videos because there's enough of them, but Secret Invasion's almost over anyways. And what do I have to say about that? It's a boring British show that reuses shots. Like
the latest episode had some stuff happen.
It did. I actually like semi. Genuinely, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool.
It just confirms my theory that this would have been a great 2-hour movie.
Would have been fantastic.
And it will be.
Maybe
Someone's gonna edit this movie together. It's gonna be great
for sure. But yeah, I mean, I could like if push comes to shove, I could just switch off of those and then just be on like Turtles Watch and do whatever nostalgic content and like cover other whatever things that we need me to cover. But yeah, that's like the only other route. But
yeah, and just maintain transparency. You know, like if we were approached by a studio, be like, all right, you know what, the studio approached us, we're not going to do that. You know, or like let's say that we were like, all right, we're going to continue to do Secret Invasion coverage until the show like stops, and then next week Disney contacts Dan and is like, hey, I want to work with Comic Story and absolutely, and I want to do this. Then we'd be like, all right, well, now Secret Invasion's over. Like now we got to stop doing it. You know, but until
because
that happens,
we got what we wanted years ago.
yeah, we always wanted to get attention and not, well, we always fought to get some kind of collaboration with the studio so we could be paid to do this job. Now YouTube pays us enough, and you know we don't really need them, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Also, screw the studios in this
Screw 'em.
regard, because YouTube used to be the golden boy, and then TikTok came along, and all of our sponsorships and promotions dried up because they were like, oh, these
New
people over
thing.
here value views over money. So let's
we're gonna
work
go
with
to
them
them
directly. I'm just, you know, not like other sour grapes or anything.
I only know out of every influencer you've seen at a red carpet, I only know like 1 or 2 of them that have been paid any amount of money to be there or had any of their flights covered. They're dressing in the fanciest tux possible because they want to show off, not because that they matter.
No.
So I did get an email over last week that definitely was very exciting email to receive from a big studio contact. They're not directly with the studio, but they run a studio event, and it was to participate in the Haunted Mansion world premiere red carpet inside of Disneyland, which is crazy that they're coming to me after what I've done with their brand. But I said no. I literally responded with, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hope to be in communication in the future. As it stands right now, I will not participate in any promotion that is across a picket line. I basically summed it up and said that. I did like text my cousin who is in the WGA. She's actually like a union rep. She's doing a lot of great work. I was like, tell me how to respond to this email, Maureen.
Do I have to say no?
Scared. I'm
like,
so
yes,
upset.
you have to say no. Now, I'm guessing you received no reply.
No, they said so I didn't receive a reply from the main thread. I got a text from the guy later.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
So yeah, you're right.
Because
Basically
anytime
no
I've ever
reply.
said like no to a job, they're like, oh, okay. They just moved on. Okay, next name. Like I'm deleted from their list, and then it goes to the next name.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like marketers who work for these big companies that don't have much of a choice, right? They have to participate. They're not necessarily getting paid like studio execs. There's definitely what's the word? People on that list that are getting paid a bunch of money and that don't care about writers and stuff like that. But
yeah, totally.
Most people, I mean, Benny like loosely talked about the demands of the writers, but when you like hear about it, it's very minimal. And the usage of AI, no matter what fence you stand on with that, for me, AI is a really cool thing to help creative people get creative faster. It should be a tool for the menial labor. It should be a tool for emails, things that don't matter. It should be a tool to help guide script writing if you need help with guidance, not do it for you, because the studio's plans were AI generate us a MCU movie with Robert Downey Jr. returning as Iron Man and Tom Holland as Spider-Man and the Virgin Mary, and then like kick out a script and then have
that. Do you have that script? Are we gonna go over your AI?
We actually have my AI script ready to go. Well, I wrote it. I wrote one and the AI wrote one. You get to figure out which is which.
Oh, they're both gonna be terrible, but anyway,
they're horrible. No, and then they want writers to rewrite those scripts. They want actors to come in, background extras, get paid a day rate, 1 day of pay to get a full 3D scan of their face and their likeness so that studios can use what they look like in perpetuity for the end of time. If that's not the most dystopian,
that is
monstrous.
That's like Black Mirror level nonsense.
I don't think actors should be getting $80 million to show up in a movie. I think that's a little egregious, but we shouldn't be giving them $100 to grab their face and use it forever. I mean, what is that? Joan is Awful is basically the example there. Like, Joan is Awful just became real. For Black Mirror.
It's that, and it's like actors' pay is not the issue here. Like like big leading Hollywood names, because that's not what the ground floor is. That's not what the union is striking for. Those people are striking. It is in solidarity. Robert Downey Jr. walked off the set of Oppenheimer. Does Robert Downey Jr. need to strike? No. Robert Downey Jr. has more money than some studios make, okay?
Yeah.
Somehow, some way he does. So he's not, it's in solidarity for the working day-to-day actors, because the background guys that you see in Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and then randomly in the back of Secret Invasion, that is somebody that is working to like live doing it. And the livable wage in LA has gone up striking, or the living income, or the cost of living in LA gone up incredibly. So if you saw that chart, you'd be mind boggled by how expensive it is to simply be there. And then the work hasn't gone up. And it's going to harm all of us. For anybody who's selfishly like, well, then get a different job, dude. Who cares? It'll harm the people consuming media. The texture of what builds a movie or a TV show, the background extras, the set designers, the lighting, the gaffers, everything in between, the writers. That's what makes a movie or a TV show or any kind of property great. It's not the Tom Holland. It's definitely the supporting cast on that one. So
yeah.
There's my spiel, guys.
But I
you
think
go.
good.
I was going to say, in terms of like, to kind of rewind back to what we were saying earlier about the covering the shows on the channel, I feel like it's an awkward situation, because I feel like we should be doing videos of the shows and stuff that we enjoy, because I feel like in doing that, we're doing what they said. We're promoting the things that we enjoy, so that studios go, hey, look, writers did something that people want to watch.
Yeah.
But I feel like that brings us into the awkward point of, oh, they're only going to cover things that they enjoy, and they're never going to say anything negative. So the channel gets kind of boring, because as we saw from most of our fans of the CW Flash reviews, they love when Hassan absolutely hates them.
I think going forward, we're
I
just
won't
gonna do
support
exactly
that studio.
I think we're just going to talk about the shows and stuff that we like and what we enjoyed about it. And Sal put it best: if they ever offer a paid gig attached to it, I think at that point we would have to just stop that project. Right now, we'll just wrap up Secret Invasion with our weekly reviews, talk about some Superman, and go from there and just see what the overall reaction is. I don't feel like us talking about them on a review show is really going to be crossing the line. Now, if we were to show up to the Adult Swim studios to, meet everyone involved, but not the actors because they can't be involved.
Or the writers because they can't be involved.
Yeah,
so just meet a guy named Greg who's like, yeah, I signed off on this. What are you going to do?
So, all right. Well, I think. Oh, God.
Oh, I was going to say one last thing for our viewers who might also run into situations where you're dealing with studios. If they offer to send you somewhere and they're not paying you, but they're paying for things to send you there, that counts as them paying you.
Yeah.
That counts as against this strike.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
So I'm going to have to say no to that
Anyway, thanks for watching
PS5.
today's episode of Absolutely More, but off the cuff, just discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed this. As you heard, we're going to be continuing doing our TV show coverage until we deem it against the strike. Right now, it doesn't seem like it is, so we're going to continue as is. And maybe we'll have this discussion again in 3 weeks when the demands get higher or something. I don't know. We'll find out. Thank you guys for joining us today. I am Benny, that is Dan, that is Sal, and that is Hassan, and we'll see you next time right here at Absolutely. Da-da-da-da.